Yeah, hello and welcome to a new episode of our weekly Spielworxx chat season 2. My name is Uli Blennermann, but I'm having a guest today, a guest that came out of retirement just for this show. The podfather of gaming himself, Mr. Stephen Buonocore.
Uh,
So, Stephen, how are you?
I'm doing great. If this is coming out of retirement, if you think this is work, you're wrong because this is fun for me, and this is like all I do. Just appear on my own podcast, appear on podcasts, annoy Tom Vassell. This is what I love to do right now. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, but annoying Tom is a good thing. Having podcasts or doing podcasts is a good thing. So I'm
Yes, it
really,
is.
really glad having you here today. And if you, the viewers, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat window. And Stephen, you have the appropriate name and title, the Podfather of Gaming. So in recent years, podcasts, not only in gaming but everywhere, but also in gaming, have become really popular. Um, why do you think so? Why are podcasts popular?
Um, I always thought, I'm going to talk about gaming because obviously that's where we
Yes.
come
Hmm.
from, and it's hard for me to extend it. But by logical extension, most of what I say it makes sense. So, as publishers, former publisher, current publisher, I mean, we create content, podcasts specifically, but in general, we create content like this so that we can sell games, so that we can reach out, over the internet and look people in the virtual eyes and say, hey, we got this stuff, and this is why it's cool, and so it's always that part that we're doing business. So
Hmm.
that's a publisher
Yes.
type of thing. Um, uh, and now or in general though, a lot of people who are out there who are doing podcasts and creating content. I put these two things together. I mean, maybe you don't,
Yeah.
but I put podcasting and YouTubing and
Yes.
Twitching and all of this stuff together. People want to do that and they want to create content because they want to be part of something bigger than them, something that they don't have a direct
Hmm.
uh, change to, a direct input into making the games that they love. But what they do have is an ability to talk about it and to become part of another section of it, the media section of it.
Yes.
And that's sort of what I like to do now. That's what I'm doing now, right? I'm going to stay relevant in the industry by doing things like Board Games Insider, right? Or Board
Hmm.
Game Breakfast with Tom Vassell, and using my knowledge to give insight into the news, my commentary on what the news is, and to then, you know, take a peek behind the curtains so
Yes.
that I can tell people about how we do things, and that makes it interesting for me and hopefully for the other gamers out there.
Yeah, yeah, good answer. And let me briefly introduce Steve. Hello, Steve. Hello, Matze. And there, Stephen, there is a good friend of yours, of mine. There is Paul Inkeo.
Oh,
So, love
we
from
know Paul.
Germany, Paul, and hoping to see you really, really soon at a convention, maybe at Essen. We will talk about the conventions a little bit later. But Stephen, is it also podcasts and also YouTubing or Twitch, what I'm doing here? Is it popular because the entry level is pretty low these days? You don't need to buy equipment for $5,000 to start, or do you think this is a factor?
Um, I I think certainly that is. I mean, if it costs $5,000 to start a channel, that would be problematic for just about anyone, and maybe some publishers to do it. But um, so yeah, we'll add that as a factor in. But I think I postulate that people have a love of something, and now we can extend that to beer and wine or to sports cars or whatever the case may be in the rest of the content that gets put out there on other topics, and people just want to be part of something that they love. They want to be able to sort of give back to what they love and their knowledge of this thing, of this industry, of this hobby of whatever kind it is. And let's also not forget that some people do it to monetize it, and there's nothing wrong with that, of
No.
course. YouTube will pay you money, right, based on how big your platform gets and how many
Yeah.
clicks you get and how long you stay watching videos. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I think that's great for somebody who's got a big following and who can, if they can't make a living, they can at least supplement some money they do on YouTube. And we know plenty of content producers, the Dice Tower being the biggest one or
Yeah.
one of the biggest ones. Look at Watch It Played with Rodney. He has
Yes.
made a
Wonderful.
career now out
Yeah.
of that, and he does such a good job doing
Yeah.
it. So it's like, yes, I'm happy to be looking at his channel and I'm happy to be watching his stuff, and I'm thankful he can make money doing that. I think that is absolutely wonderful. So there's just another reason why podcasting has become such a big thing and people
Yes.
like to do it.
Yes, I agree. And Paul is saying hockey. Yeah, of course, hockey. So, Paul, if you make it to Essen and if the Mighty Roosters have a home game, we may actually watch if visitors are again allowed. So, maybe we are doing this. And there's Pini from Israel. I think you know Pini as well, the game designer, Stephen. So he's saying
Uh-huh.
he's coming to Essen. So that would be really nice. And we have a question or comment from
I
Steve.
can't believe you like a team named the Chickens. We're gonna throw that out there. That's your favorite
It's
team, the Chickens.
the problem is I don't like the name Roosters too much. But we
He's
were
That's your
bankrupt
team.
so many times over the last 30 years, and each time we came back under a different name. So that's
That's
really
great.
true. And so now we are the Rooster. So it is what it is. But Stephen has a comment here. Will we still get to see Stephen at conventions? I'd love to finally be able to game with him instead of just chatting at the airport. So you talked to him, you met him at an airport. Steve, we will get to conventions in a couple of minutes, so we will talk about this. And there is Matt Wolf. Hey, Matt. And there is the phone. Asmodee is ringing. So really,
Asmodee
Stephen,
is calling
they want
to
to
buy the
buy
company.
Spielworxx. So
All
just a
right,
second.
I'll take over here because Uli's got to do that. I hear he has to do that once in a while. There he goes. So I'm gonna answer Stephen's question there about conventions, and because I've mentioned this on my podcast many times. I'm going to all the conventions this year, all of them, fully vaccinated, in good health. I better talk louder so that we don't hear him. And I'm going to be going to all of them. So I will see you at all the conventions, and I will play games with you. I answered the question that Stephen had about going to conventions. I'm
Very
going to all of
well.
them, and
This
we'll talk
was
specifically.
Yeah, and of course, this was not Asmodee. Why should they ever buy Spielworxx? But it was my wife, so it was important. So I had to answer this. And Matt Wolf is hello, Matt again. Have you ever tangled with a rooster, Stephen? They are vicious. So
I have never had a fight with a rooster. Bet they could be pretty vicious. That's right.
But you had a term, you mentioned a term earlier, Stephen. I wrote it down because to me, this is a term I'm not 100% happy with. Content creator. So
Okay.
yes, I know you are creating great content. In a way, I'm creating content, but I think it's a strange term. So, what do you think about content creation?
I don't have a better term for it, so it sounds in the English speaking ear, it certainly sounds good. If you're doing a podcast, we are creating content in the subject that we're doing. On Twitch right now, we're creating content for people to watch live, and then it's archived, and people can watch it later. People who blog, people who vlog, people who put up play videos, everything. It's creation of content. So to me, that's just the general category, and then you can pick your platform of choice and your type. Um, and one of the things is that I really wanted to get out here is also that I think that if you want to get into this space of content creation, we'll just use the term again, you should try to find a niche that makes sense, that maybe not everybody's doing. I always say that if you want to be three dudes talking about games that they just played, okay, but that might not be the way to make yourself known because there's so much of that or has been so much. Try to find a way of getting into this podcasting content creation that will draw people to you.
Yeah.
Get a niche. Get a niche.
Yeah, there and yeah, for me, and now you see that Stephen is so young and I'm old because to me, content creation doesn't sound that well. But you know, all new people they are using this, young people using this term, so I get it. But Stephen, a good podcaster or video blog or YouTube guy or girl, what qualities do they need to have? So what makes a good podcaster? Are there any general things you need to?
I think energy may be the most important single thing. I mean, first you have to do it on a regular basis. If you don't pretty much release content every time you say you will or you should, with certain exceptions, of course. There's the travel, there's holidays, but you got to do it on a. You got to be driven to do it, and you got to do it on approximately the schedule that you say you're going to do it. And then after that, it's energy. If you're gonna if you're gonna like talk like this and it's not very interesting. You got to be interesting
Yeah,
for those people out there, whether it's visually interesting. I mean, you can see me, I'm like animated, my hands are moving like, oh, that's my Italian American thing. We talk with our hands, but also just vocally, your voice. Just I love gaming and I love talking to people and I love Uli, so this is like the perfect storm here of Uli says, "Hey, you want to be on?" I'm like, "Yes, I want to be on, and we're going to talk and we're going to have fun for a half hour or 45 minutes." That to me is good. Be
yeah,
interesting, be animated, be vocally engaging, so people want to talk to you and hear from you.
yeah. I agree 100% again, and that's why you are the podfather of gaming, of course. And yeah, and Paul is making another comment here. Many new channels are covering new Kickstarters, which seems to attract attention. Let me first answer and then it's to you. Stephen, I think, Paul, because a lot of gamers look to Kickstarter and they are interested in Kickstarter. And that's why a lot of the podcasters and YouTube channels also look to Kickstarter. In a way, it may be also an easy thing to cover because there is room for this podcast that just has these very difficult topics, very engaging topics. Kickstarter, certainly, if you're covering just the new ones, are easier to do. What do you think, Stephen?
No, that's a good point. Your content is created for you. If you pick the topic of like the latest news from Kickstarter, so to speak, it just keeps happening. I mean,
Yeah,
like it's just a flow, a flow, a flow. And then of course you could do it. This and Kickstarter has sort of multiple ways of looking at it. Here's all the new stuff, and here's all the stuff that just got delivered, and here's all the stuff that's really delayed, and these guys are maybe not doing the right job by everybody. So you can really have the whole idea of the crowdfunding. Let's just not say Kickstarter, right?
yeah,
Crowdfunding, and now there's at least three channels where you can now look for crowdfunding
yeah.
things, and that's a great way of giving commentary to people, giving them content.
Yeah, I agree here. And Mo, and hello Mo, by the way, hello to Texas. Also engaging with your community that you build. Yeah, this is of course very important.
Yes.
No matter how small, how large it is, it's definitely not good enough. And I think Stephen also touched on this. Every 4 weeks or every 5 weeks to drop one photo at your social media channel, you need to really engage
Yep.
with people to
Yep.
do it correctly.
And if that's the mode that I think it is, yeah, he does a really good job of doing that too.
It's a designer Mo. I'm not sure if you mean the same
Okay.
person, so, but
Maybe.
maybe. But let us move from podcasts in general to the one of the channels that you are doing, Stephen, together with Ignazi from Portal Games. You are
Okay.
doing Board Game Insider. And I think on a crazy weekly schedule, right? Also,
Yes.
yes.
So Board Games Insider, which Ignacy and I started over 6 years ago now. And I was he approached me and said he'd love to do a podcast with me. And I was like, let's do this thing. I had been a listener of a dozen podcasts, like religiously, all the big names. And he came to me and said, "Let's do this. We'll do an insider. We'll Board Games Insider. Where we'll talk about how the industry works. We'll engage with the community. Talk about news." I'm like, perfect. And now 6 years later, we did our 200th episode, which is astonishing. I'm amazed that we got that far. I remember when Tom did his 200th episode. I thought that was like, wow, Dice Tower 200. That's so great. Now here we are, 200, and we do it weekly. We do miss on occasion during the traveling
Yeah.
portions of the year. Certainly, it's a little harder. Sometimes we get together in person when we can as well. That's rare, obviously not over the last year and a half. But it became very easy to do it. Certainly over the last year and a half, because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
Every week we banging it out, not a problem. I can see it becoming harder, starting in like September, for us to do it all the time, because he's not going to be traveling mostly. I will be traveling constantly in August, September, October. It's going to be crazy. But I'm happy to have done this and to have created this, and I think that we do something that nobody else does. And
Exactly.
and again, that gets back to sort of my point where I try to find a niche. We are Board Games Insider, right? Two people who run or have ran their own companies for a long time, and telling you how it works, taking questions from our guild on Board Game Geek, commenting every week on the news that comes
Yeah.
up, because there's always something interesting in the news in board gaming, commenting on that in a way that, how does this affect all of us, the gamer as well as the publishers and the industry in general? So it's a good niche, and I continue to do it specifically as my give back to all the gamers out there, so I can give them my knowledge, impart my knowledge onto them.
Yeah, and then 200 episodes is really an amazing number. And for tomorrow, you can watch this live because tomorrow is a 200th episode. And I will post the URL here quickly so you can
Thank you.
watch this on YouTube. And I think it's 2 o'clock p.m. CET. So it's early in the morning for you. Is this correct, Stephen?
I normally drop, because we record the podcast like basically a week in advance, and as soon as we record it, I take the video portion. We just went to video as well. We're obviously an audio podcast that we've been doing for 6 years, but over the last year or so, I also drop it on my YouTube channel, which is the Podfather of Gaming. You can go there, subscribe to the Podfather of Gaming, please, and you'll see not only our weekly podcast done as a video, without any great production. It's just we
Yeah.
record it and we do it. And of course, I drop other content onto the channel. My happy hour, which has been going on for 15 months, that's going to be coming to an end soon. But then other things like that, I do unboxings and certain trips to geeky things like the Kennedy Space Center and things like that. So I drop it. I drop the podcast. It's sort of at a different time, but always on Wednesday morning, almost Wednesday morning, in the U.S. So 8 a.m.
Yeah.
usually
Then it's 2
here.
p.m. Then it's 2 p.m. over here. So 2 p.m. if you are in Germany, if you are in Europe, 2 p.m. tomorrow, you have the URL over here. And because you are an insider, board game insider, Matt has another question here. Stephen, what do you think about Asmodee and Amazon suing a counterfeiter? So what do you think
That
about
is
it?
that is a phenomenal question, and we will. When I saw that, I tweeted and put that on Facebook the moment that I saw that. I think that is one of the single most important events for the hobby game industry. That's how significant that is. Now, we'll talk about this in very, very, very big detail on Board Games Insider episode 201. But for now, I'll give you the whole thing and why this is so significant. Amazon and eBay, even worse, was not only not doing anything, they were almost facilitating counterfeiting. Now, they wouldn't do that purposefully, but the policies and the way that Amazon is run, we'll talk Amazon, eBay's a Wild West anyway.
Yes.
But Amazon's a $1 trillion company almost, and their policies were almost facilitating the counterfeiting, because they were commingling product. Like, so they would buy from us, and then other people would be selling, Stronghold Games products, and they would just throw it into the same batch.
Yeah.
And then manage the inventory as this big thing. And of course, these things were counterfeit.
Yeah.
Then Amazon charged publishers and other people who wanted to ensure that their products were not counterfeit, charged them to do this thing called the Amazon Transparency Program. Long story on that one. I won't get into the details, but they were charging you to put codes on your product that came from your warehouse so they could weed out all the counterfeits. So wait a second. So you're benefiting from all of my products, and you're going to charge me for your problem? Screw you, Amazon. But we did it. You had to do it.
Yeah.
Now, at least, so we got into that program. Our products have been counterfeit free at our cost, there. And now Asmodee, of course, with their $1.5 billion company, $2 billion company, with Amazon, $1 trillion company, they're combining their efforts because they certainly have the scale that they can do this and bring lawsuit against known counterfeiters. I think this is fantastic.
Yes.
Christian Peterson, the former CEO of Asmodee North America, said in an interview on ICV2 about 4 years ago that counterfeiting was, quote, an existential problem in the industry, in the industry, and to his company. Just think about that, existential. They might not be able to exist if they don't get their hand on this.
Yeah.
So kudos to both Asmodee for then, I'm sure it was Asmodee going to Amazon and saying, why don't we get together and make this big statement? So I'm very happy. First small step to getting rid of these creeps.
Yeah, I think also when I heard this, that this is truly a very important step. It is a first step, but at least there is now some action and taken, and I really like this.
And they will win. And it's like a joke. If you want to hear more of my impassioned speeches about this kind of stuff, listen to Board Games. But whoever this creep is that's been selling known counterfeits, they will win this. They will shut him down, or her, or whatever, this company down. But it's like whack-a-mole. Other people are going to pop up. He or she might pop up someplace else under another name. They will find it. They will start to do this, and this is a good thing.
Yes. I agree. Stephen, let's move to the convention season. You started this, and there was, of course, Steve's question here. And I know, Stephen, that you intend to attend Gen Con, Origins, and Spiel Essen this year. And this year is special because of COVID, these three major conventions are within 4 weeks. So in mid-September, we are having Gen Con, 2 weeks later we have Origins, and then another 2 weeks later we have Spiel at Essen. So yes, things are improving in a great way, but what are your expectations for these large conventions?
And I'd like to also just toss in BGG Con and PAX Unplugged. I'm going to all of them. So
you're an animal. You're an animal. So.
I'm an animal. I'm just out there. I really miss them so much. It's so crazy how much I miss. I miss traveling. I miss seeing people. I'm going to hug everybody if they let me. It's going to get very awkward. There'll be a lot of hugging. As long as you let me hug you, there's going to be that. But my expectations are that we're going to have a different experience, a smaller experience, but in many ways a better experience. Sure, everybody wants to see that convention exhibit hall at Gen Con that is like several blocks long, with huge booths from some of the big guys like the Asmodee companies and Paizo and Ultra Pro, all of which are not going this year. Well, everyone likes to see that in their big spectacular stuff. But now we're going to see a lot of these smaller companies, new ones who are being allowed to show up for the first time, and they're going to have a chance to shine on their own. And of course, those like the second tier under the huge companies like indie game studios, CMON, Renegade, these companies are now going to be there, and they'll be hopefully able to get their products out and more recognized. So all of this together makes it a different experience, a somewhat smaller. They're saying they're going to have about half the size, give or take.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it could be a better, at least, for now, better experience. I'll be able to like find a seat at the bar that I want to go to at night and have dinner in a place I really want to go to, instead of like having to like run around and find someplace because everything is booked up. And
Yeah.
it's those conventions are hard to deal with on a lot of levels. Forget about for the publishers, yes, but just for the attendees, it's going to be a more friendly environment, a friendlier city to get around and do things. I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to see how it has changed. So I'm there, and I want to talk to all of you when I'm there.
Yeah, this is great. And you see, it's also very good having Stephen as a guest because he is such an optimist. And I'm more like Ignacy. I'm more the Slavic guy. Also, I'm not from a Slavic country. I'm more a pessimist. But I got that, Stephen. A couple of days ago, and when we talked before the show, I mentioned this briefly to Stephen. Essen, so Spiel, Merz Verlag, sent out the exhibitors info for Essen this year. And it was totally to be expected, although not really in detail at this moment. But what is necessary, and of course everybody could expect this, is that you have to wear a mask all day. And is it really fun to wear a mask from 10 in the morning till 7 in the evening at Essen? So what do you think, Stephen?
Well,
Does
that's
it?
certainly
Mhm.
it's certainly not optimal. And I would, and I don't know the exact numbers in Germany. I heard they're getting better and better and better. I speak actually like every week to, I don't speak, I have not been speaking to you every week, but I have got a couple of friends in Germany that I actually talk to almost every week, and they've been saying
Yeah.
it's getting better. Then, they're
Yeah.
not at the place where the US is, but it's getting better. Um, I have to go with the local law, right? If I go to Gen Con and they say you have to wear a mask, I wear a mask. Here in Florida, and like in your everyday goings into stores and things like that and restaurants, all the mask mandates have been rolled back. None. There are none. And our numbers on COVID are way down. And of course, I'm fully vaccinated, so I'm healthy, right? So that's also, I mean, it's also part of it. Like if you're a healthy person and you don't get lung things, and I'm okay to take that ultra small risk right now. It's very small, 0.0000001% that you can actually get it and something serious can happen to you. I'm okay with taking that risk. However, bigger event, the event needs to keep everybody safe. So if they want me to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when I go out at night, I can take my mask off. When I'm walking around the city, I can take my mask off. Things like that.
Yeah.
I will make the sacrifice for the greater good, so to speak.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, for me, and hello, Nick, by the way. Good seeing you. Yeah, for me, I will be at Essen if at all possible. If Essen is happening, and it looks like, as you said, Stephen, numbers are getting better and better over here. But you never know what will happen in October. For me, it will be what will be strange to be after early 2020 amidst a crowd of people. And normally, and I'm not scared of lots of people around me at all. I love to be in a hockey or football, soccer stadium amidst a packed crowd. I really love this, but right now it feels somewhat strange. Even when I watch the NHL, now as you know, the finals have started, and when I saw in I think it was in Tampa, where when this packed crowd, or right now the Euro Championships are running, and in Budapest it is allowed to have the full. So everybody can go in. I think there were almost 60,000 in the stadium. In Germany, it's not yet allowed. But I'm not sure how I will feel this. Do you think this is normal, or is it maybe just
I
me and Ignazi, maybe?
No, it's not just you. Certainly, a lot of people feel that way, and there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. Hey, I know people who said, I will wear a mask forever when they go out to bigger places. I'm always going to have a mask on. And culturally, in Asia, that's a thing.
Yeah.
In Asia, they go into subways, they have masks on. And this before COVID. You can see pictures of it. It was a normal thing. Not a you see if you saw you go into a subway in the U.S. and somebody's wearing a mask, you say like that's kind of weird. 3 years ago, I expect us to see many people wearing a mask forever.
Yeah.
Nothing. We don't. You shouldn't judge people by that.
Yeah.
There's so many factors involved. And here's an interesting point. So it's like when this all started, and we were told, well, now you must wear a mask, and we're closing all this stuff down, and you can't do, and you have to stay home, and this. There was this huge adjustment to make. So we marched down this road of, oh my God, we're scared, we're this, we have to do this, we have to do this, be careful. And now we got to peel it back
Yeah.
slowly, 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 peel it back. And people might stop. They might say, okay, well, I'm always going to still do this. I'm always going to be washing with my hand sanitizer every time I touch a doorknob. Yeah, okay. But we have to at some point peel back to our comfort level. And my comfort level currently is going out and kind of living my life responsibly. Yeah, I still carry my hand sanitizer all the time. So, and I wash my hands every time I go into a restaurant. I go, make sure I wash my hands. I'm ready to eat. It's going to be an adjustment. We got all the way out there and now we're adjusting back. And I like to put this akin to like the seasonal flu that kills 60,000 Americans every year. And I don't even know the number worldwide. It's a,
It's
it's,
huge.
it's a huge number, the seasonal flu. When was the last time you worried about going to Essen or going out to a football game or a hockey game and getting the flu?
Hmm.
Now, yeah, it's not quite as contagious. It's not as deadly, but it is deadly. And you don't think about it.
Yeah.
So do the right things for yourself. Get vaccinated. Do the right things for society. Do the right things and keep clean. And begin to at your comfort level get back into the world. I just think it's important mentally for people to
Yeah.
get back seeing people, get back to going out and doing things. And I've been encouraging people who I talk to in my happy hour that we're ending the happy hours every week that I was doing twice a week, and we post that on my YouTube channel. We're ending that so that you feel more empowered to do things with real people in front
Yeah.
of each other. Game nights,
Yeah.
go to your game store, do the things, plan vacations, all the things you would have done. It's important mentally as human beings to get back out and see people.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And one thing is, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit, or it feels a little bit weird for me to be now again within crowds. But if I could imagine now for the rest of my life, I'm never seeing a live hockey game at Iserlohn, at the Roosters place. This would be not a good life for me at all. So I need to adjust. And Matt here, he made a comment that is in line with you, Stephen. He's saying I'm leaning towards always wearing a mask in crowds. The benefit of not catching a cold or concrete is worth wearing a mask. Yes,
Sure.
and I can imagine at least in winter, fall times when I'm using public transport, that I'm wearing the mask inside public transport, because we may have learned something here, but everybody is, of course, a little bit different. And that's another.
Yeah,
Sorry, one
and
more comment. Yeah, please go on,
let
Stephen.
me make one comment if you don't mind.
Yep.
As part of the whole thing, you have to like look at your own health situation. Now, you know, Uli, I normally, when I was publishing, I went to so many conventions every year, shook so many hands every year, every once in a while with the hand sanitizer, but not like religiously or anything like
Yeah.
that. I basically never get colds, the flu, con crud. I've got a very good immune system. So for me, I don't think I'll wear, masks in large groups. But that works for me. If it doesn't work for you, I think you should continue doing it to the level of comfort that you
Yeah.
have. I just wanted to point that whole thing out.
Yeah, you're right. And there was another comment, the Obaconist. Sorry for misspelling your name. He's saying, or they saying, Concrete, a push your luck game. Yeah, could be. Sometimes it is. But we are already well over 30 minutes. But I have one final question here, Stephen. Quick
Please,
answer,
please,
please. Which
please.
board game did you enjoy most over the last few months? So, which board game stands out in your opinion?
Oh boy,
Quick
that I mean,
answer. Quick answer.
I I got to play War of the Ring, my favorite game in the world. I got to play it. So there it is. It's War of the Ring. Everyone knows it's my favorite game.
Yeah, and this is really on so many different levels a wonderful game. So I can really understand. And as always, thank you very much, Stephen. It's a pleasure.
You're
It's
welcome.
it's always a pleasure. And please think about the 200th issue of Board Game Insider tomorrow. You have the link over here. And of course, you should listen to Board Game Insider regularly anyway. And I hope to sit in front of you, or we are sitting next to each other at Essen, having a cheap Prosecco, having an even cheaper Chardonnay, or having a beer or whiskey. So I'm already
Uh,
looking forward to
I
that.
can't wait. I'm buying, my friend. I'm buying.
So now we are now, if, because you said this, we are scratching cheap Chardonnay, we are scratching cheap Prosecco. Now the expensive stuff is coming out. But
Sounds good.
if people want to reach you, Stephen, how can they best do this?
I appreciate that. Several different ways. Of course, we mentioned Board Games Insider a lot, so please look us up at boardgamesinsider.com. It also has a Facebook page, so you can go like us over there. My personal page on Facebook slash Podfather Gaming. You can catch up with what I do there. Podfathergaming.com is the website. Twitter, active on Twitter and talk to everybody. Every time somebody posts, that's at Podfather Gaming. You see a little bit of a pattern here. Same on Instagram. And for YouTube, it's The Podfather of Gaming. Please check that out. Please subscribe. I think you'll enjoy some of the stuff I post. And of course, if you don't have time to listen to a podcast, Board Games Insider, you can watch Ignacy and I. Ignacy's a very pretty man. He's very, worth looking at. Me, not so much, but it's
You
a
are.
it's a great time. Thank you,
It's
Uli, for having me.
yeah. And there is another congrats on being about to hit 200 episodes
Thank
on
you.
BGI. And Matt is making a final comment here, and we are not really thinking too long about it. Steven's favorite game lately is home remodeling. So yeah,
Oh,
we are not
yes.
we are not going into details here. But next week here at the Spielworxx chat, I'm having another guest. It's game designer Johnny Peck. I'm already looking forward to him. And to everyone, thank you for your time. If you would like to talk about a specific topic in advance, or have a specific question that you'd like to ask in advance, drop me a mail at uli@spielworxx.de. That is uli@spielworxx.de. And till next week, bleibt alle gesund. Black Lives Matter. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye.